Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson. Here on the Maroon Friday edition of the Yard. Hope you're well. We got baseball tonight. 7 p.m. SEC Network. You can stream it through the ESPN app. And as always, you can find the official Mississippi State radio broadcast through healthstate.com. The Health State app, which is handy. If you haven't downloaded that, you should. And, of course, the regular Bulldog Baseball radio affiliates. Guys, we're going to start the show with the Robertson rant. And you may not agree with what I'm about to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am so frustrated, and I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does. These fake Facebook pages, it's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy because of what some of you are willing to share, in some respects at the expense of Mississippi State and fans around you, okay? So I'm going to go through this today just because of the fact that I want to. And my hope is to bring a different level of education and information, I guess, to you. And I've told people, please stop following these pages. Please stop sharing their content. So I don't know what else to do. And we got another one here. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I'm responding as I'm talking to you. And I'm just telling these people it's so stupid. So we're going to start on the Hell State Diamond Facebook page. And so the Hell State Diamond page, and I know I'm giving them views because you guys have got to go read how absurd all this stuff is. I understand I'm giving them engagement, but I hope is eventually we can get these pages removed. 35 minutes ago, Hell State Diamond reports good news from Ace Reese, a heartfelt message after surgery. He didn't have surgery. He doesn't need surgery. And here's a fake quote from Ace Reese, which I suspect is illegal. I still have a long road ahead, but I believe in healing through hard work, through faith, and through the support from all of you. And they go on to say this, Ace, a quote misattributed to Ace Reese, I'm fighting, but I can't do it alone. See, anyway, they have a picture of Ace, and then they have a picture of somebody that had a knee surgery perhaps in the 70s, and it looks like a Frankenstein injury. And of course, and I'm not trying to be mean to her, but I'm just saying this so maybe one of you will hear it, and you can get through to them, because I have failed. Jane Tackett says, we're all rooting for you. We're all rooting for you. We're all rooting for you. Now we're going to skip over to this other stupid page that some of you are following and sharing their content and commenting on it. And they've got the fake news about Ace Reese's surgery, which tells me, and it's the same picture. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. Please stop. I'm just going to do it again. This is fake. Please block the page. So on this page, on the same story, at this point we got 32 likes and we got 3 shares. And I don't know what to do. I really don't. I love Mississippi State. We've got so many good things going on right now. But on this page, we've got Sally Scott Pierce says praying for a complete recovery. We've got Faye Merchant with the praying hands. Nate Overstreet, prayers for healing, also praying hands. Sue Malley and Donnie Golston were smart enough to say this is fake news. But then Beverly McClellan Freshour says, hang in there, you got this. It's stupid. But yeah, it gets more absurd. It does. It gets more absurd. It gets more absurd. There's even one about Brian O'Connor singing the national anthem. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. But wait, there's more. There's more. There's another one called the Hell State Hub. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I don't fault these people because some of you are gullible enough to fall for it. And there's a thing about the O'Connors, but I'm trying to find the one. There's the one about there's one about Brian O'Connor getting bad treatment at a hotel, so he comes back the next day and fires everybody because apparently he's bought the hotel, and he bought it out of spite. And but here's my favorite one. Okay, here's my favorite one. It's got some crazy picture of millions of people in downtown Starkville on campus. $3.2 billion later, Mississippi State just changed the future of baseball. $3.2 billion. $3.2 billion that we're building a new stadium. Breaking news, right? We're building a new stadium, okay? The ambitious $3.2 billion vision has been making waves in the sports world, and we could redefine the image of modern college baseball. Powerhouse, transforming Mississippi State's iconic home field into a global destination, blending tradition, innovation, and the passionate energy of Bulldog fans. Well, let's check in on the Bulldog fans here. Thankfully, our friend Lynn Trammell says this page is BS. Everything they put out is BS. Please don't believe this hype. For the love of mankind, please report them. Steve Robertson has been trying to tell y'all this is a fake page. Well, Lynn, glad to have you as an ally, but it appears we're fighting a losing battle because Jean-Philippe Baudet says Stark Vegas becomes, well, Stark Vegas. Kim Brownlee, she jumps in. Wow, it's already the nicest stadium in the SEC. Rodney Keith, well, they are a baseball school, so money well spent. Tiffany Fultz Tomlin, the baseball team is bringing in talent and bringing money with them, hoping the football team can get back to that status. Hell State. Denton Hunt, he chimes in. MSU baseball just raised the bar big time. Hell State. Kay Eaton also with the Hell State. Jesse Strider, another ally in the cause, says, come on, folks, this is not real. This is a fake site. Rick Pullen, he chimes in. He's concerned about education. Why don't they use that to educate the young people the right way? Sports has taken away too much, and that's a T-O, from the reason you go to school nowadays. Not hating, just my opinion. I wish them well, but I think it could be better used in education. David Hughes chimes in. This is AIBS, but Kay Garan, a counterpoint, says, wonderful. And then Jimmy Bolin can't wait to share the news with his friend Doug Wiggins. So if you know these individuals, love on them and approach them from a position of love and let them know that they have been bamboozled. $3.2 billion? You kidding me? You can't read that and have some deductive reasoning skills for yourself and realize that that's fake? Come on. Let me tell you the worst part about this and the best part about this. There was a 15-minute segment on the Eagle Hour hosted by Kelly Sander. That's a Southern Miss show. I don't know if Kelly's still on TV or not. He was when I was young. And nice guy. He fell for it too. They devoted 15 minutes of the Eagle Hour to talk about, well, how Brian O'Connor made the right decision to suspend 3 players who were caught out partying on Monday. Guys, we played a ball game on Tuesday. You could see for yourself, we did not have any star players suspended. Do you really think that like a Mint Grow blog is going to break that kind of news? It wouldn't be us or the Clarion Ledger or our compatriots across the way. Are you kidding me? Honestly, why are you so gullible? Right? This is why we have to put, and this is going to sound offensive, and I'm sorry, but this is why we have to have do not drink on shampoo bottles. This is why. Stuff like this. Please help me stop this. And listen, I get it. As soon as one of these pages is deleted, there will be another one that will pop up behind it. I understand that. I do. But I think the way to combat this is we have to educate each other and say, listen, this is not true. But guys, you shouldn't need me to tell you that we're not fixing to build a $3.2 billion baseball stadium. We don't have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of need. What are we doing? $3.2 billion? Are you kidding me? No. Stop. Let's segue into something that's positive. Bulldog Burger Company. As I mentioned, they're going to have some new menu items. And some of your old favorites may be going away. And so there's going to be like the formal rollout like next month. That said, there are going to be a few items that may you can get a preview of. And that started this week. You can now get the chili cheese fry appetizer starting this weekend. And they're bringing back the chili bowl. I'm a chili connoisseur. I can't wait to go have this. And I think you got to get chili in-house, right? I don't think chili is a to-go item. Well, Steve, you got a microwave. No, it's not the same. And then the Black Label Smash Burger. That's kind of all the rage these days, smash burgers. So right now you can go ahead and kind of get a preview of some new menu items. And be sure and check it out. Also, the Triple Smash Burger. So the Black Label Smash, the Triple Smash Burger, the chili, and the chili cheese fries now available to you at Bulldog Burger Company. Let's be sure and check that out. I can't wait. Like, I kind of pride myself on the fact that I've eaten everything on the menu. And so, again, new items coming. And you may ask yourself, well, Steve, what's a smash burger? I had the same question, right? Basically, they take, if I remember correctly, it's usually like a 6-ounce burger. They take 2 3-ounce patties and smash them together. So the triple smash, of course, is 3 patties. So be sure and go check it out. It may be your new favorite. It may be. Now available at all 3 locations. Goodness, good times, good food, good service. Those 3 locations. University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer to make you and everybody around you better looking. It's true. It's on the menu too. And I coined that phrase. I did. And get that chocolate shake to go. You can ride that ride home with a smile. All right, let's jump into our Vanderbilt preview. I wasn't able to get up with Coach Corbett, unfortunately, and they were willing to do the interview. But I had a speaking engagement at Brandon High School yesterday, and they emailed me like while I was traveling. I didn't check my email when I got there. I would have missed it anyway because it was kind of late notice. And then I texted Coach Corbin last night. I said, Coach, if you have time tonight, I'd love to have 10 minutes of your time. If you can't do it, I understand. And so we just couldn't get together. It wasn't any hesitancy on their part, but we believe we've got you equipped for the weekend. But let's jump in here and kind of get going here on Vanderbilt baseball. It's been an up and down season, right? Everybody knows it. And a good weekend for them last weekend. But it's interesting. Now, again, Vanderbilt hadn't won a regional since 21. And yes, I know we haven't either, but we weren't using need-based aid. They had some financial advantages that other people weren't able to exploit. And again, there's nothing unethical or illegal. Well, I guess maybe the unethical part may be a reach. But they'd have been fools not to do it. You got the money to do it, and the NCAA allows need-based aid. You'd be a fool not to do it. They did it. But, yeah, things have changed. They open up the college baseball season back Valentine's Day weekend at the Shriners Children's College Showdown in Arlington, Texas, there at Globe Life Field. That's such a smart thing that every weekend that Globe Life brings in during the month of February and early into March, they bring in great weekend series up there. So Vanderbilt lost game 1 to TCU. They bounce back and mercy ruled Texas Tech. Then they lose to Oklahoma State. They get mercy ruled in that game. And you may remember beginning of the year, I told you I didn't get the Vandy hype. And I thought this kind of the non-conference portion of the schedule kind of validated that opinion. And they had a pair of midweek games against Eastern Michigan. They mercy ruled both of them. Then they mercy ruled Marist, and I thought maybe I'm wrong. Then they mercy ruled Marist again. So 4 straight mercy rules, and this team can really hit. They can. Then they beat Marist 8-1 to sweep the series, and then guess what happens against Evansville? Another mercy rule, 15-3. Things were going great, and then all of a sudden some pitchers weren't available anymore. Things began to change. They go out to Las Vegas, and they get swept in that weekend. They lose to UC Irvine 9-4, lose to Arizona, who was really struggling. I think they were winless at the time. They win 5-1, and then Oregon beats them 6-4. So now all of a sudden, air's out of the balloon. But the best was yet to come if you're a Vandy hater, because then they lose to Central Arkansas 5-4. We've been there. That's a terrible loss. They bounced back to beat Troy, and it was one of those 5-week games. So you split the midweek, and then you get into North Dakota State, and they mercy rule them on Friday, mercy rule them on Saturday, and then they get beat 5-2. So again, offensively, they've been really good. Last week in the midweek, they beat Indiana State 14-6, and then they take 2 of 3 from LSU. Now, I want to go back here. This Friday game says a lot about this Vanderbilt team. Now, Connor Fennell, the regular Friday starter, has started every Friday. He gets a no decision in this ball game. LSU gets to him right away, and the next thing you know, after 2 innings, it's 4-3 in favor of LSU. And then Vandy puts together 2 in the third, 5 in the fourth, and so you look up and like, okay, it's a 10-4 ball game. Well, LSU gets 3 in the fifth, and then 5 in the eighth to take the lead 12-9. 12-10. And then Vandy walks it off with a 3-run home run to win it. Exciting ball game. If you love good college baseball and you were at home, you probably enjoyed that one. They bounce back, too, on Game 2, and they take the series. So we're going for the sweep against LSU on Sunday. They just kind of ran out of pitching. Lose that ball game 16-9. And granted, LSU pitching hadn't been stellar this year, but it's still LSU. But in this ball game, it's so interesting. It's a 6-1 ball game. In the second, LSU just jumps on them. And then Vandy comes back, puts up 4 in the fifth to make it a competitive game. And from there, it was pretty much all LSU from there. Vandy did get 3 there in the seventh, but that was answering a 5 spot from LSU. And so 16-9 is your final. And it's interesting. It's a 6-6 ball game after 6. And then the Tigers just kind of made it happen. And then, of course, their midweek game this week, they lose to Indiana 5-1. It's so interesting how they haven't hit the ball well in midweeks, but they have on weekends. And I think some of that, too, is sometimes you need great pitching. It's tough to hit bad pitching. People don't fully appreciate that. Guys get a little frustrated, try to do too much, don't want to take the walk, and they swing at pitches out of the zone or balls that are up and can't make it happen. But they've been a little more locked in on weekends as of late. But, of course, again, you go back and you look, outside of outside of that weekend against Marist, they haven't had a weekend where they look like a dominant program. And that's a fair assessment, I think. And so, again, first pitch tonight at 7, and then we'll get under the lights again on Saturday. Should be great weather. And then series finale at 1 p.m. on Sunday. Let's look at inside the numbers here with LSU. Vanderbilt. We'll get to LSU when we get to LSU. But again, this team can hit the baseball. Their bullpen has not been great. Guys, they only carry 4 left-handers on the roster, and only one of them has pitched this year. And he hadn't been great. He got rocked against LSU. But offensively, again, this team can swing it. They're hitting .308 as a club. Brody Johnston leads the team with a .393 average. He's got 7 tanks and 21 ribbies. Brandon Holcomb, a guy that was a monster early on. He's hit some huge home runs. He's hitting .333, got 11 tanks and 33 ribbies to his credit. Riker Waite is played in all 22 games, started all 22 games. He's hitting .333 as well. Mike Mancini, a guy that we tried to get out of the portal a couple years ago, he's hitting .333 too, but he's only played in 17 games. Mac Whitcomb has been kind of the catcher of choice because Colin Barcy has been hurt for some time. first midweek of the year against Eastern Michigan. He jams a shoulder going back into a base. He did take part in pregame warmups against Indiana, so he may be available sooner rather than later. On the pitching side, it's been a bit of an adventure. We mentioned Connor Fennell, their Friday night starter. He's 2-0, but with a 5.47 ERA, he's given up right at a hit per. At 26.1 innings pitched, he's allowed 16 earned runs on 25 hits. But he doesn't give you much. Walked just 6, struck out 38. I mean, it's over 6-1 right there. That'll get it done. Now, Austin Nye hasn't pitched the last 2 weekends, and he is listed as questionable for the weekend. And they're TBA on Sunday. And I think the hope for Vanderbilt is they're thinking maybe Sunday he'll be good to go. They think he's a potential first-rounder. He's 1-0, 3 appearances, 3 starts, got a little banged up, missed his time, but he has not worked deep in the ball games. Just 10 innings in those 3 appearances. But the numbers are really good. 13 Ks against 2 walks, 6 hits, and just 1 run allowed. Opponents are just hitting 167. Now, part of that, too, that Mara series helps a lot. But he hasn't worked deep in the ball games. The other starter that is expected will go on Saturday is Wyatt Nadeau. He was your SEC Freshman of the Week. He's got a 1-0 record. That's the win over LSU. $1.50 is the ERA. 5 appearances, 2 starts. He was one of the first guys out of the bullpen, and then when Nye loses his spot in the rotation to injury, they just plugged Nadeau in there, which means their bullpen was short. Nadeau's got 18 innings pitched, 10 hits, 3 earned runs, 25 Ks to 8 walks. Opponents hitting just $1.61 against him. But again, the problem here is working deeper in the ball games. He went 7 against LSU. So you begin to kind of back that out, and you see, the average outing's been around 4 or 5 innings. I mean, some of that out of the bullpen. But as we mentioned, Jacob Schultz is the only left-hander that has pitched. That's it. They only carry 4 on the staff, and a couple of those guys are hurt. Another guy's not ready. Schultz is 1-0 with an 8.59 ERA. He is allowing a hit and a run per inning, 13 Ks and 5 walks. And again, he got shacked pretty good last week against LSU. Opponents hitting 250 against him. We'll see him at some point this weekend because you just have to give people a different look. And so what the expectation is that Vandy's going to start 3 right-handers. And we have kind of feasted on right-handed pitching. The left-on-left matchup is the most difficult thing in baseball for hitters. And you only got one guy, and he has been ineffective as of late. And so you begin to kind of ask yourself, do they use him as a matchup guy? We don't stack left-handers more times than not just because of the fact that we're going to get into this left-right thing. But this weekend, maybe that's the move. When they only have one left arm available and he hasn't been dominant, maybe it's best to stack lefties. So I think that certainly means that Reed Stallman's going to be at first base, right? Probably means that Andrew Raymond will catch. Maluski will probably catch a little bit too. But, when you start thinking about what's best for roster construction, the more left-handed hitters we have against this Vandy lineup, I think it's going to be really good. And I think Ace Reese should have a good weekend. Contrary to the reports of the Starkville Diamond Hub or whatever that's called, So that's kind of your look at Vandy as a staff. They have the 15th worst ERA in the Southeastern Conference. You guys are well aware of that. We touched on that earlier in the week. They have been somewhat susceptible to the extra base hit, too. And I think that's one of those things you look at, too. 25 doubles, 18 jacks, but they've hit 52. Now, some of that is a byproduct of playing so many home games with a short porch and right. We knew when they made that announcement that the offensive numbers for Vanderbilt should improve. And that's the thing you begin to kind of ask yourself is, again, how much of that is true power and how much of it is lowered hurdles? I can't really tell you because I don't know for sure. But to suggest that all those are just legit is probably maybe being, maybe a little silly about all this stuff. It's just the thing that I think about with all this statistics with Vanderbilt is nobody plays a ridiculous non-conference schedule, but I will give them some credit. They played in a couple of these showdowns, and so they got 6 Power 4 opponents before they ever got into SEC play. So they did schedule a little bit too. And so you kind of ask yourself, who is this team? Well, the reality of it is if we go out there and pitch well, we're going to win this series. Because I think we're going to score right there with them, if not more than they do. And I think that it sets up really well for us. Now, Vanderbilt just needs help. Tim Corbin said as much on Sunday. He goes, we not exactly sure what they're going to do with Nadu, but if they get Nye back, then it gives them some options. Well, the fact that Nye's not 100% ready to go, and Nadu's in the rotation, already announced in a rotation, that's an aspect of things where you got to consider, well, that eliminates another bullpen arm. If you get Nye back, then you could maybe get a little more creative, but it just gives you one more bullpen arm. And so Nate Taylor has been the regular Sunday starter. He started every Sunday, and his spot is TBA for this week. He is 0-3 with a 7.45 ERA, allowing 18 hits, 16 runs on 19 in the third inning, struck out 24 and walked 14. He's also hit 4 hitters too. And so they're clearly not happy there, but if Nye is not ready to go, Nate Taylor is probably the Sunday starter. If Nye is ready to go, then all of a sudden Taylor becomes a bullpen option. So if you see Taylor appear in the bullpen either Friday or Saturday, you probably got a pretty good hint about the availability of Nye for this weekend. And he was supposedly a game-time decision last week on Sunday, and they just didn't go that route. And so I think right now, when you begin to kind of break this thing down, I think Mississippi State has the better rotation. I think McPherson can give those guys some trouble. I know that Thomas Valenkas can. And then Duke Stone has been really good in his spot in the rotation too. We just got to piece this thing together in the bullpen because this is a very offensive-minded team, and really no lead is safe. You can never have enough runs, ever. And in a team like this with a bullpen like ours that is still under development, that's one of those things you really got to think about. How do we piece this thing together? Because you got to manage the whole weekend. It's not just a game-to-game thing. We got to go all in to win this game. You got to think about the full weekend. And obviously you want to win. You're playing to win. But real quickly before we move on from our Vanderbilt preview, I wanted to give you kind of the availability report as released. And, of course, it's not like football where they change, Most everybody is healthy around the league. South Carolina's a little bit beat up. But, as far as the State Vanderbilt thing goes, Matthew Shorey is out. He's a left-handed pitcher. Miller Green is out. He's a left-handed pitcher. Adria Casalaba had a great relief outing earlier, and he's out. And then the closer, England Bryan, is out. And it's been a while since he's pitched. I had a story about that earlier this week. Questionable, not probable, but questionable, is Austin Nye and catcher Colin Barsai. So we'll see what happens with those guys. We may see them, maybe Barsai pinch hits. Probable for State is Aiden Teal. Everybody else is good to go. So that's where we sit with all this stuff. And, ready to go play some baseball. And by the time I get to show up and get to town and kind of get things settled, it'll be time. And we'll try to get there around 5 o'clock, 5:30 at the latest, and get settled, try to beat some of the traffic, and be ready to go and bring you guys in-depth, in-person coverage of Mississippi State Vanderbilt baseball from Duty Noble Field. I hope you can come out and join us. All right, it's time for our Close with Blair Player O' the Day. That's right. Brought to you by my friend Blair Chandler. He is a mortgage specialist. He gets things done. Thus the name Close with Blair. He can get you to the closing table when so many others can't. That's an important bit of knowledge for you because it can be an intimidating process buying a home. You don't know who to trust. You don't understand there's got to be an appraisal. There's got to be an inspector. There's going to be underwriters. There's going to be a lot of people that have a say in every bit of this. You need somebody to kind of hold your hand through it. That's Blair Chandler. His phone number, 601-500-2344. 601-500-2344. Get his 25 years of expertise and know-how working for you. You'll be glad you did. Blair's a guy that knows the ins and outs. He'll be your advocate with underwriting. You'll be in great hands. So whether you're looking for your first home, your next home, your retirement home, or perhaps that game day condo, which may be more affordable than you think, Blair is the only name to know. A Bulldog through and through, has a place here in town, rides the wave of Bulldog fandom just like you and I. Be sure and check him out today. Matter of fact, Blair may be a little more emotional than you and I. I get those texts. Dude, what are we doing? I was like, dude, it's first inning. Just relax. It happens. But he's my boy. Love him and his family to death. And he'll take care of you. We've had several Boneyard listeners that have closed loans with Blair. You could be the next. Our player of the day, player to watch, it's Ace Reese. The ace of dogs, right? With Vandy throwing 3 right-handed pitchers and them being very light when it comes to left-handers out of the bullpen, I think Ace is going to get a lot of pitches to hit. We got to work away. Connor Fennell is a guy that likes to work the fastball slider to left, fastball changeup, to lefties. So we'll probably need to go the other way a few times, but I think Ace is in store for a big weekend. I just kind of feel it in my bones. Call it a hunch, but I think a lot of it's just because the analytics suggest that. Ace Reese, your closer Blair player of the day. Now it's time for today's top 10 list, by request again, brought to you by Calido Guitars, Calido guitars.com. A lot of guitars in our top 10 list today. Maybe it's time for you to upgrade your equipment, or maybe you've always wanted to play and you don't want to make a big investment and you didn't know where to look. And that's where my expertise and know-how comes in to help you. I'm not a great guitar player, but I love playing. I do. I wish I was better. Wish I had more time to commit to it. But maybe you're ready to take up a new hobby. Maybe it's just sitting around picking an acoustic guitar with friends or family. You can find a very affordable entry-level guitar at Calido Guitars. And then as you become more proficient, you'll find that it's worth your investment to get better equipment. Maybe you're already in a band. Maybe it's time for you to pull the trigger on that Joe Sat or that Steve Vai original. They got so many great guitars to choose from. It's not just the average guitar shop. They have products, expertise, and know-how to help a guitar player of every level of proficiency. You could be brand new. You could be an intermediate player. You could be a real pro. They're going to have a guitar that'll fit great in your hands and sound great in your home or perhaps some venue somewhere that you're playing. It's not just limited to beginners, but it's a great place for beginners to start. Maybe you need gig bags or cases, guitar stands, strings, accessories. You can find it all at Calido Guitars. Stop by their showroom down in Lake Jackson, Texas when you're in that neck of the woods. You owe it to yourself to go by. Meet Daniel and those guys. They'll do a great job for you. They'll set your guitar up exactly the way you want it. And if you're a more experienced player, you know sometimes setup is everything. They can save you the time and trouble and outfit and detail your guitar as exactly the way you want it. They're going to give you some incentive too. Promo code BSR. We wanted to keep it simple. BSR, you know it well. It is synonymous with the show. BSR gets you a 10% discount off their already low price. That in and of itself is enough. But wait, there's more. No sales tax unless you live in the state of Texas. No shipping cost. And then they're going to make a 5% donation to the Bulldog X1 Fund. So whether you need a guitar, a banjo, a ukulele, a fiddle, a violin, no matter what you're calling it these days, you can find a quality instrument at a discounted price with Calido Guitars. You'll be glad you did. Check them out today. Very, very proud to partner with them. And everything that I've gotten from them has been exemplary. Exemplary. And they even hand-delivered my guitar. You may not get that treatment. It just kind of worked out that way. But it was super cool. I got the guitar. I went right home. I pulled off like the little plastic sleeve But that's so fun anyway, right? And I went home, plugged it in, and just started playing. Trying to remember what I played first. Maybe it was Anarchy in the UK. Maybe. I think that's right. I think I played Anarchy in the UK first. I think it's right. But then I worked a little bit on some T-Rex, Bang a Gong. Worked on that. Worked on some Motley. Not ready to play for you guys, but I enjoy playing for myself. And maybe you're similarly situated. Kalido Guitars can be your partner in your journey of guitar playing. All right, Tim. Tim is clearly someone who knows 80s hard rock. Tim hit me up the other day. We're talking about Skid Row on the show. Talked about Skid Row yesterday, too. I don't know if you guys know this. I spoke at the creative writing class at Brandon High School. And great experience. Want to thank Jordan Nowell for setting all that up. Super cool stuff, man. And I want to give a few shout outs here just because I think it's important, right? We want to honor people. But Stephanie Shaw, her message to me: thank you for coming. My students were so engaged and motivated by everything you said. Keep giving back to these youth. They needed to hear your message. Very kind. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks for affording me the opportunity to impart some wisdom to the next generation of Mississippi writers. At the end of the day, we're all writers. That's one of the points I tried to make yesterday. We're all writers. Even if you don't write for a living, you got to write reports. You got to write emails. There's going to be a lot of things you have to do. You're going to learn how to communicate. And we can all be more proficient when it comes to writing. But one of the kids was talking about, how do we get started? How do you get started? And that's a great question. And I shared a story. And of course, I'm from the 1900s. So a lot of my reference points are a little over their heads. And I brought up the importance of journaling. That's one of the things that when I was an aspiring writer, somebody shared with me. You got to get in the habit of writing every day. And I do. I write every day for you. And sometimes I write some things for myself. Some of it will never be published. Some of it's just me kind of working through emotions and feelings because I heal by writing. Just kind of getting the cancer out. Get the poison out of your system, right? It's a Howard Stern reference if you don't know it. But nevertheless, so Dave the Snake Sabo was in an interview one time, and I can't remember who exactly was a member. I think it was Snake. But they made the habit of every morning when they would get up, they would write down what was on their mind, what they were thinking about. And they wrote, woke up to the sound of pouring rain, washed away a dream of you, and left it. Well, of course, that's kind of the bomb, and I remember you, right? And what I love about that, it's because I love so passionately, it resonates with me, that whole verse, kind of a pre-chorus there, when he says, woke up to the sound, because the song begins with, woke up to the sound of pouring rain, wind would whisper, and I think of you. Well, that came later. But the hook in that song is that stanza where he says, woke up to the sound of pouring rain, nothing else could ever take you away. Right? That's just one of those things that sticks with me, because you'll always be my dream come true. Oh, my darling, I love you. Right? I get chills even repeating that to you guys. It's just such a powerful line. And when you really love somebody else, truly love somebody else, and I don't mean a love of convenience, I mean a love of commitment. It's a different dynamic, right? And there's always a little ebb and flow in relationships. There truly is. But I think love songs are one of the things that resonate with all of us just because of the fact that at some point we've all been in love, we've all been heartbroken, we've desired to be in love. And I think it's an interesting story about how I Remember You, one of the best love songs of my generation, kind of came to be. So there you go. You didn't expect to learn that today, but there is some Skid Row on our list today. How about that? But anyway, so Tim says, Steve, you may know this, but Slave to the Grind was the first metal album to debut at number one. Well, Tim, you're right. I did know that. So Tim got to thinking, and he goes, hey, what about some others? So I kind of flipped it because there's not a lot of good charts out there. You would think in Al Gore's internet, in the world in which we live, it'd be easier to find that stuff, but everybody's got their own list, and it gets very watered down and convoluted. However, I said, let's take Tim's idea, we'll tailor it, and we'll come up with a cool list that I think everybody will love, especially those of you that grew up in my generation. So we got the 80s heavy metal tracks that reached the top 40. Right? Because for a long time they wouldn't play metal on the radio. Right? Because we were all just a bunch of outcasts, a bunch of black-hearted lost souls. They didn't want the devil taking over. Devil music. So here we are, all these years later, talking about it. So then there's only been 10. How about that? How ironic is that? There's only been 10 songs that made the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100. We're going to start at number 10. And talked about Warrant with those guys yesterday too, down in Brandon. But Warrant's great power ballad, Heaven, reached number 2. You'd like to think it'd get to number 1, but it made it to number 2. And that's the highest charting song from Warrant. Cherry Pie did well too, but didn't do that well. There was a lot of angst too about some of the sexual innuendo in the Cherry Pie video. Some people thought that you might go to hell from watching that. Maybe you will. I don't know. And if that's true, if being attracted to Bobby Brown is what's going to send you to hell, then I'll be windsurfing the lake of fire. I'll tell you that. That's a joke. Number 9, one hit wonder. But man, this song was everywhere. So you guys may remember this. It wasn't just like MTV. We used to have Nick Rocks. Do you remember that? That's going back a few days, right? Nickelodeon would do like a segment of videos from time to time. And at times, HBO would even play videos between programs, right, to stay on schedule. And it felt like this song was everywhere. It still holds up, too. And I had the album. I love the album. But it's autographs. Turn Up the Radio. And I don't know why we don't play this at Duty Noble and Davis Wade. I mean, everybody knows it. It's an anthemic song. Turn Up the Radio. Let's go. I may jam that on the way to Duty Noble today. All right, number 8. The band that basically started the Randy Rhoads Experience, and you can find QR1 and 2 on import. But the American debut, of course, was Metal Health. And the title track off Quiet Riot's third album, which QR3 came later, ironic, but it's Metal Health, Bang Your Head. And man, when that thing came out, man, we all wanted to go out and buy those little shirts. You know what I mean? Those shirts like Carlos Cavazo had that Rising Sun sleeveless T-shirt. We thought, man, I want to look like those guys. But Quiet Riot's Metal Health reached number 31. And I didn't give you, Turn Up the Radio was 29, number 29. So Quiet Riot's Metal Health 31. All right, number 7 on your list, a song that you know, and they actually did a radio edit version because the album version was too long and they wanted to get more airplay. And this song kind of crossed over. And for many of you, it is probably the quintessential Whitesnake song. And I won't argue that. But it's Here I Go Again, and it reached number 1 on the charts. The radio edit I don't like as much. I like the full album version. But Here I Go Again on my own. And it's so funny, that song means so much to me, and I really have not been alone since I was 20 years of age. All right, number 6 on your list. My handwriting's a little sloppy here. You knew at some point Motley would make it, right? Well, they did. Top 40 hit, Kickstart My Heart, off the Dr. Feelgood album. And it reached number 27. And that is a song that does get played at some athletic events. Probably should be more. It's not my favorite Motley song. It's not even my favorite Motley song on the Dr. Feelgood album. But it's one a lot of people know. It's a song that gets you up, makes you want to cheer. All right, number 5. I remember being in Fort Walton Beach, making some friends. And this guy had the Out of the Cellar cassette. I had heard a little bit about it. I didn't know these guys as well. I went back from Fort Walton Beach. We stayed at Island Echoes in Fort Walton Beach. My dad used to take us down there every summer. And looking back on my life, it's one of those things that I love the most about our family, is that we went to the beach every year. And spent a lot of money at Alvin's Island down there. Love Fort Walton. But it's round and round. which reached number 12 on the charts. And I love the fact a few years ago that Geico had the commercial, oh, we've got a rat problem, and you go in the kitchen, it's rats playing in the kitchen. You love that, man. I promised you guys some Skid Row. And here's some Skid Row. And it's because the song did so well. And I think in many respects, it was probably the gateway song to much of America's youth because of the subject matter. And, Youth Gone Wild came out first. I have a tattoo that is inspired by Sebastian Bach's Youth Gone Wild tattoo. I've got a Chuck Taylor with flames coming off of it. And love that song, still listen to it. Now it's kind of like the middle age gone mild, right? Rather than the youth gone wild. The youth is wild today, but for different reasons. But the song, it was a mainstay on MTV. They had to retire it because people. This episode is brought to you by Better Health. We're going to take some time and celebrate the ladies in our life. Ladies, we love you. Maybe we don't say it enough. We understand that you carry a lot of burdens on your shoulder, whether it be work, relationships, or families. There's just so many things that happen, man. There's so much that goes unseen that our women folk do for us. Their emotional well-being at times can be easily overlooked. We want to remind women how much they matter and that therapy offers a space for them to take care of themselves in the way they deserve. My grandmother was the strongest woman I've ever known, and I can't begin to imagine just the true Southern grit that she had to possess. Being a stay-at-home mom and then grandmother, took her grandkids in to help raise us. She was a pastor's wife, and sometimes finances were tough to come by. And she always found a way to make it work. And I don't know where my life would be without her. So celebrate the women in your lives and encourage them. Maybe they need some time to talk, right? BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 6 million people globally, and it works. With an average rating of 4.9 out of a 5-point scale for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com. People kept voting at Dial MTV for the song to be number one. And so they had to retire this track just to give somebody else a chance because we couldn't get enough of it. And the video is so powerful. It's 18 in Life. It reached number 4 on the Billboard chart. And it's number 4 on our top 10 list. All right, number 3. This is the power of MTV back when there was a real thing. We didn't know anything about Twisted Sister. And all of a sudden on MTV, we had Dee Snider in our living rooms. And things changed. And we're going to go with We're Not Gonna Take It from Twisted Sister that reached number 21 in the top 40. Number 2, while there had been a couple of albums, the third album for Bon Jovi was the one that made them true headliners. They started out with the self-titled album, Bon Jovi, that had Runaway. That was a hit on MTV as well. It took them a little while to find their sound. They got into 70, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, had In and Out of Love and Silent Night. And we liked them. We weren't crazy about them yet, but we liked them. And then all of a sudden, You Give Love a Bad Name began to hit the airwaves. And it's a song that resonated with all of us because we've all loved somebody like that. And it all started with Richie Sambora sitting in a hot tub with other guys in the band, relaxing one night, talking about an ex-girlfriend, and said, yeah, she gave love a bad name. Next thing you know, an iconic song is born. It reached number 1. And that album, Slippery When Wet, I have a tattoo of that album cover, became synonymous with 80s pop culture. There were shirts everywhere. There were some shirts that said, You Give Love a Bad Name. Then there were some that said, I Give Love a Bad Name. And it seemed like those were the girls I chased. Number 1, though, while it didn't chart as high as any of the other songs on this list, it was a huge breakthrough for real heavy metal, right? And we used to call it thrash metal back then. But all of a sudden, things got a little darker. Things got a little heavier. And it took a while for it to resonate with people. It's the first video ever released by the Pet Shop. No, it's not the Pet Shop Boys. It's Metallica. Metallica's One reached number 35 on the top 40. And it was a breakthrough. They were pioneers. And then next thing you know, the Black Album comes out. And they said they'd never make another video, but they ended up making a bunch of them. And Metallica became a worldwide phenomenon. So, Tim, thanks for the suggestion. I hope I did you proud today, even though we kind of changed it up a little bit. And I think anytime we get those types of suggestions, we can find a way to make it work. If you have an idea for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy Samanti, my friend. We were talking about our traveling plans to get to San Antonio later this year to see Iron Maiden. That's right. I don't know if I've told you guys. We're going to see Iron Maiden and Anthrax and Megadeth, and we can't wait. We can't wait. I hope Carla Harvey is there. But nevertheless, Roy Samanti, Onyx Dogmatic 67, DAWGMATIC 67. You can find our great list on Spotify under that same handle. And of course, I'm on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. Next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart. We love them, and they love us back. We love them because they have what we want. They love us because we are loyal customers of that great institution that has always been there when we've needed them. It's right there, conveniently located on the backside of campus. You can roll in on 182, take that left or right at the Trooper Station, and just mosey on around, and their Campus Bookmart is on the left just before you get to campus. So, stop by to see them the next time you're in town. If you can't make it to town, and perhaps game day is a difficult shopping day for you, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net, courtesy of Al Gore's Internet. Use promo code BSR. That's going to entitle you to free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75 incomplete. And again, you can kind of outfit your weekend. You can get yourself a cooler, a Duty Noble Field approved cooler. You keep some drinks in there. You can buy drinks there at Campus Bookmart. Or maybe you need T-shirts. It's warming up. I'm in that in-between phase right now. I'm upstairs here in the office, and I can't decide if I'm warm or not, right? I walk up here, and it's like the temperature says it should be 70, but it feels a little warm here. So I'll be wearing T-shirt and shorts all weekend. Got to get the core temperature down. So it may be time to trade the hoodies in for the tanks and for the T-shirts, or maybe some short-sleeve polos. You can find all of those at Campus Bookmart and at campusbookmart.net. Be sure and check them out today. All right, let's take a look. None of the baseball games last night went the way we wanted. We wanted LSU to lose, we wanted Ole Miss to lose, but that kind of goes without saying. We want Ole Miss to lose in everything. I tell people all the time, if we need them to win in order for us to have anything, then we probably don't deserve it. But the Rebels get a 5-0 win over Kentucky. Hunter Elliott was great in the game. I kind of had it up on the split screen. And Kentucky ranked 15th in the country. It's a good win for Ole Miss. Hunter Elliott goes now 3-0, 6 1/3 of an innings pitched, no runs, of course, and 6 strikeouts. And then Hayden Federico, and you know they recruited him because his last name was Federico, right? Kind of like Chardonnay. They love that stuff, right? They do. They love it. You want to go to Ole Miss and play baseball, you can't just be a good player. You've got to have a fun name. Just how it is. That series will resume again later today. And, of course, LSU jumped on Oklahoma early. It was 5-0 headed to the 6th. The Sooners break through and get a run in the 6th, and LSU answers with a pair in the 7th to cap the scoring at 7-1. The Sooners make 3 errors in the ball games and have just 4 hits. Trey Gamble with one of those 4. Kason Evans, an outstanding performance. He is probably the odds-on favorite to be your SEC pitcher of the week, just really the first game into the weekend. He goes 7 2/3 of an inning, gets 15 Ks, and leaves to a standing ovation. Derek Curiel gets 2 hits in the ball game and an RBI. A big series win for LSU if they can get that thing today. And again, you always want to get LSU, if you have to go to the box, you want to go early, because once the temperatures heat up, the Tiger bats heat up. That's just how it is. All right, this evening, Missouri will be at Tennessee. Tigers are 15-6, 0-3. You may remember a couple years ago, Missouri won the series. I think they swept Tennessee. I know they won that series. They may have swept it. But this will be in Knoxville. Tyler Macon, again, hitting .405, still having a great year. Probably Missouri's best option to make an all-SEC team. But you and I both know that Missouri record is propped up as the product of good scheduling, right? They did not play anybody worth anything really in the non-conference. But they'll get Tennessee. And it's interesting. The records are almost identical, but the schedules aren't even close. Big series at Plainsman Park. Number 2, Texas, who should have swept Ole Miss last week, 18-2, 2-1 in the league, will take on number 5 Auburn, who's also 18-2, 3-0. Bristol Carter doing a great job for Auburn, hitting .404 with a couple of tanks. Aiden Robbins having a great year for Texas, 367 is his average, 6 home run, 25 RBI. Arkansas and South Carolina, and you got to think, if you're Arkansas, you got to be thinking sweep. And if you get through this with that favorable schedule, and you're already 5-1 in the SEC, you like where things sit. It makes a lot of sense that you could be in a hosting discussion, but again, they have the most favorable conference schedule in the league. This is a good start for them, though. They'll get Missouri later, so you feel like that's 6 wins. I mean, you're trying to get to 18 or so to give yourself a chance to host, and you'd already have 8, like if you count those 3. From Missouri and South Carolina. And you never know. There's a reason we play the games. But I don't think this Arkansas team is good enough to win an AFL championship. I don't know they're good enough to get to Omaha. But they're going to have a good regular season record. Florida's at Alabama. Florida kind of quietly going through this thing. Their non-conference schedule, not very challenging. But they're 19-3 overall and ranked 18. You'd say, well, Steve, why are they so far back? And again, it's a product of their schedule. But 3-0 in the league, and they'll get Alabama, who is struggling. They're tied 15-7 and 0-3 after getting swept by Kentucky. Brendan Larson, big year for Florida so far, hitting over 400, 10 jacks and 29 ribbies. Brady Neal pacing the Crimson Tide offense with a .343 average, 4 home runs and 20 RBI. I think Florida wins that series probably 2-1. I mean, I can't get over the fact that Florida lost to High Point, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? You can't just forget that. You look at the numbers and say 19-3. They lost to High Point and should have been swept. Georgia and A&M, that could be an entertaining series, but if it was at Foley Field, I would think it would be more like a Church League softball 3-game weekend. But the ball just doesn't carry as well out of College Station as it does at Foley Field. Georgia, a game better at 18-4 over Texas A&M's 17-3, and of course the difference is the SEC schedule. Georgia goes 2-1 last week, A&M 1-2. Caden Sorrell, 389, 11 jacks, 37 RBI. Daniel Jackson doing a really good job at Georgia, 429 with 14 home runs, 37 ribbies. So could be an offensive series. Whoever finds a little bit of pitching will likely win the series. I kind of like A&M here, just because the Georgia offense is so incredibly reliant on home runs, and I don't think you're going to hit as many there. I think there'll be a lot of warning track power. Oklahoma and LSU will resume tonight. Of course, that's LSU can clinch the series, which would be huge for them. Oklahoma's got some pretty good pitching, so we'll see how that happens. And, of course, Kentucky and Ole Miss. And the nightcap, Vanderbilt and Mississippi State. Of course, Bryce Chance leading the SEC in hitting right now with a .431 average and one of the most difficult hitters to strike out in the country. Brody Johnson, we spoke about him earlier, doing a great job for the Commodores. This team can hit, and so if we can pitch at a high level, got a chance to have a pretty special weekend. But the main thing for us is, I think about this, we really need McPherson and Valenkas to work 7. If we can get 7 out of both of those guys, I think you feel really good about getting 6 more outs. I think you can piece that together and then give yourself a chance. You know, Duke's a guy that's going 4 and 5 innings. So the deeper these starters can go on Friday and Saturday, it just saves more arms for that Sunday bullpen. And that's when games often get away from you. And again, with Vanderbilt's bullpen issues, I think that favors us. It's a pretty shallow pen down there. And so if we can chase somebody early, and like you saw last week, with Fennell, LSU jumped on him, but they got to manage the whole weekend. So they didn't go get him. They just let him sit out there and get beat on to save arms for the rest of the weekend. And then they rally to win the game late and ultimately win the weekend. It's kind of funny how baseball works sometimes. But that's what your weekend schedule looks like. And, I'm excited about this time of year just because of the fact we're just kind of getting a sense of who we are and what our place is in the pecking order in the SEC. And, again, next weekend we head to Oxford, and so that'll be an interesting weekend as well. But, we'll talk about that when we get there. But I think that matchup right now, based on what I've seen from both teams, favors Mississippi State because it's really very much a feast or famine, high launch angle offense for Ole Miss. They want to hit the home run. That's kind of the whole goal, and they kind of struggle at times to string things together. But if you saw the game last night, that's kind of how they got Kentucky. You make a mistake up, they'll make you pay for it. So, but again, we'll have plenty of time to talk about that next week. But hopefully you can come out and join us this weekend at Dudy Noble Field here in the great Starkville, Mississippi. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle, bar none, especially when you're bringing a large group to town. And you'll be glad you did. Make some memories with the people you love and care about the most. Life is short, death is certain, right? And we need to take as many pictures and make as many memories and enjoy as many meals together as we can, because one day we're not going to be able to do that. And I hate to sound so morbid. That's not exactly what I'm trying to convey. It's just there's no time like the present to do something good for yourself and the people you love. We had a great time at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. You will too. Very easy to find. It's off 182, just 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. It's the old renovated clubhouse at the old country club out past the Highlands. It's quiet, a lot of privacy out there. We don't want you throwing a rager or anything like that, but plenty of parking out there for you and your guests. The full-service kitchen, the wet bar, the back porch area, the fire pit area, 6 bedrooms, 2, soon-to-be 3 baths. Plenty of room for everybody to kind of stretch out, but also to kind of have some areas to retreat to. I had some friends that rented the place as part of a work event. They had to come spread out around the Golden Triangle area, and rather than go out and get a whole bunch of hotel rooms or Airbnbs, they said, hey, let's just all stay together. We have all our work materials here, centrally located, and everybody's got a place to go lay their head at night. It's a great thing. So that's maybe an option you haven't considered when you take those work trips. But Google the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. When you do, their Facebook page will auto-populate. You'll have a chance to view all the amenities available to you and your guest. Also, you'll see some booking options that'll pop up. You can go Airbnb. You can go VRBO. Completely up to you. But if you want to save some money, book through the Evolve website. Use promo code BSR10. That's BSR, Beautiful Steve Robertson, the number 10, 10, to get 10% off your stay. So just by listening to this show, you're getting a discount at the premier place to stay, and you'll be so glad you did that you stayed there. You won't want to leave. Not just because the facility is so great, because you don't know when you're going to chance to do it all again, right? That's the thing about life. We don't get together enough, so stop using that as an excuse, and you be the linchpin in your friend or family group and you book a trip. You just start checking dates and say, hey, we're doing this. Which weekend is more convenient for you? If you got some vacation time, perhaps you use it during the midweek. But no matter when you use it, you'll be glad you did. The Stark Vegas Clubhouse, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle, bar none. All right, so you're keeping up with the NCAA tournament? There's been some craziness. Like the first couple days of the tournament are usually the best. That and the championship game, just because so many crazy things happen. You got so many mid-majors that are kind of upsetting people. It's pretty crazy. But for those of you that haven't kept up, so Duke beat Siena by 6. Yeah, it's a 1-16 matchup. They win it by 6. TCU wins the 9-8 matchup with Ohio State. So it'll be Duke and TCU, a 1-9 matchup, second round. That'll be taking place this weekend. Louisville knocks off South Florida in a barn burner of a game. 83-79 is the final. Louisville advances. Michigan State takes care of North Dakota State. Man, North Dakota State's having a pretty good athletic year, right? But Louisville will take on the Spartans. This is like Tom Izzo season, right? I mean, it's what he does. Vanderbilt takes care of McNeese. Another one of those dreaded 12-10 matchups. And I believe that they have like fed into that narrative over the years. Like they set up a 12-5 a couple of games. I think they do. But Vanderbilt survives 78-68 over McNeese. And then Nebraska takes care of Troy. The game was not competitive, 76-47. So Vandy and Nebraska this weekend. VCU upset North Carolina. How cool is that? 82-78 is your final. The Rams will now take on Illinois, who had no trouble with Penn, 105-70. A little bit of an upset here. I don't know that I would consider it an upset. I think a lot of these far West Coast teams are overvalued. That's just my feeling. But A&M takes down St. Mary's. The Aggies, the number 10 seed, beat the number 7 St. Mary's squad 63-50. A&M will now take on Houston, who some people think could win the whole thing. They had no trouble knocking off Idaho 78-47. There's a lot of games going on right now, but we'll try to get you up to date on what there is. But Arizona knocks off Long Island. The final hadn't posted that I've seen, but Arizona, of course, a 1 seed. High Point upsets Wisconsin. We talk about some madness. That's great. Another 12-5 game. Don't tell me they're not engineering some of this. They are. 83-82 is the final. High Point will now take on Arkansas. The number 4 seeded Razorbacks knocked off Hawaii 97-78. So Arkansas, you would think, pretty good path here to get to the Sweet 16. And then we'll see where things go from there. Texas played the play-in game. And many people were, maybe surprised to see Texas and NC State in a play-in game. Well, they win that game, and Texas is like, hey, we're not just happy with that. We think we'll stay a while. They knock off BYU by 8, and then they will take on Gonzaga, the number 3 seeded Zags, who beat Kennesaw State 73-64. I kind of like Texas in the game, to be honest with you. Again, my whole feeling about the West Coast, right? Gonzaga is one of those teams that has built a franchise on men's basketball. But a lot of it has been somewhat isolated. They've had some good runs in tournaments. I'm not going to take that away from them. But I like Texas in this game. I do. A lot of games tonight, like Miami and Missouri. Michigan struggled for a while with Howard, but then kind of shook off the doldrums and won the game 101-80. They will take on number 9 seed St. Louis. The Billikens trounce Georgia 102-77. Craziness. So it's over for Georgia. Texas Tech knocks off Akron. The Fighting Joe Moorheads, the Zips up there, lose by 20. Alabama and Hofstra is going on now. You like Alabama there. You do. You may not like them, but you know. Kentucky staves off elimination. One of the wilder sequences you'll see in the tournament this year. Santa Clara goes down, knocks down a 3 with 2.4 seconds left. And then Kentucky gets up basically a desperation heave just about across half court to force overtime at 70-70. And then Kentucky goes on to win. So Mark Pope's job safe again. They will play the winner of Iowa State and Tennessee State. We certainly expect that to be the Cyclones. But I know many of you are kind of keeping up with that. What's another game to watch right now? By the time you watch it, it'll be over. But UVA and Wright State are locked into a 3-point game with just 3 minutes to go. But that's your tournament breakdown, and we'll kind of keep up with it. We'll keep a cursory eye on it. It's SEC college baseball season. I know many of you love the tournament because you can get up in the morning and watch it all day, and you see teams you don't ordinarily see, and there's just absolute mayhem. It's so incredibly entertaining. I get it. And it moves quick. And then, of course, they do such a good job on the broadcast now when there is a live look-in, when there's a potential upset happening. You don't have to leave the couch. You don't have to change channel. They kind of just do it for you. They do a great job with every bit of that. All right, we had some football content for you yesterday as we interviewed 4 players. We will probably get 4 more on Saturday, so look for that content to be posted ahead of Game 2 with Vanderbilt. We'll try to get all that up for you on Saturday. May hold 1 or 2 for Sunday. We'll just kind of see how the day goes. But, so football is around, which means rule changes are in the air too. A couple things to kind of keep you apprised of. They're going to do a 1-year trial on the targeting rule. Now, I think we both agree that targeting has, for the most part, been a good thing, but sometimes they can't seem to decide what targeting is. So here's what's going to happen. Under the new rule, a player disqualified for targeting for the first time, regardless of when it happens, can participate in the next game. So if a guy gets flagged for targeting in the second half of a game, he doesn't have to sit the first half of the next game. Your second offense, you'll be required to miss the first half of the next game, regardless, right? If a player is targeted or penalized for targeting 3 times during a season, he will miss the entire next game. So basically what they're doing is sometimes like that Errol Thompson play a few years ago where it's kind of an incidental thing, but it meets kind of the loose framework of targeting. Guys aren't going to have to sit a half. But for repeat offenders, the penalties continue to go up. And so that's going to be interesting. There is an appeals process too, so you're not in the heat of the moment. You can have that stuff looked at and determine if that's the case. There is also a new fair catch. Under the new rule, teams can choose to attempt a kick after a completed or awarded fair catch. We've had that in the NFL for a while. Like you get a fair catch, you don't have to try to return it, run a play. You can attempt a field goal. So we'll see how that works. We'll see. We'll see what works. We'll see. A couple other minor things. On punts where jersey number exceptions, which is like players 50 through 79, the snapper and 2 adjacent linemen on either side are ineligible receivers by position and become exceptions to the numbering rule when the snapper takes his position. Basically, it kind of changes the way that you can run fake punts, basically. Offensive pass interference penalties are now 10 yards. Used to be 15. So that's something to kind of watch too. The Division I committee is comfortable with the administration of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties. The Oversight Committee approved clarifying the rule to give on-field officials guidance to align with the current game. Officials will focus on unsportsmanlike conduct where a player taunts an opponent and actions that interfere with the game, administration, celebrations found demeaning to the game or opponent. So you still can't hike your leg in the end zone. Now, there's also been a lot of discussion. Some people have said, yeah, there's no spring portal, but, hey, a guy could just drop out or whatever and enroll somewhere else. Well, that wouldn't make them eligible. They could certainly transfer as a student, but they have kind of stiffened the penalties for transfers for schools that kind of circumvent the process. And I'm going to kind of read this as we go. So basically what happens, and it was a recommendation, emergency legislation said, hey, we need to address this now because we're going to have the spring semester ending soon. So they do take some proactive action here. The committee recommends amending their proposal to remove the requirement that a school reduce the number of roster spots by 5 for the next season, regardless of the head coach's employment status at the school. Basically, we're not going to penalize student athletes. If the measure is approved, and it was, once an enrolled student athlete who was not active in the transfer portal at the time of transfer participates in any athletically related activity at the next school, the following actions will occur. The head coach will be prohibited from all football, recruiting, and on-field coaching and administrative duties, team meetings for 6 games. The school will also be fined 20% of its football budget. Those are substantial penalties. Now, the Oversight Committee also approved a blanket waiver about a few other things. about the spring contact period. Blanket waiver now allows programs to designate 16 staff members who can participate in off-campus recruiting. It used to be 9. Now it's 16. Head coach who may not recruit off-campus during the spring contact period is not required to be included. No more than 10 of the 16 designated off-campus recruiters may be on the road at the same time. The football championship subdivision oversight committee is scheduled to discuss this matter. So that's been, happened as well. So some changes out there, and there are also too, like some of these schools that are like transitioning from FCS to FBS in the past. They've had a waiting period before they could participate in bowl games. They're basically trying to do away with that because you've got a lot of teams that would be bowl eligible that could fill those spots, but there's been this NCAA legislation that prevents it from happening. They're also wanting to change the 5 and 7 rule. In the past, it was all based on APR. Now they're basically going to put it back in the hands of the league. So the leagues themselves can go out and would potentially be eligible to play. So a little football information for you as well. And again, we'll have full coverage of tomorrow's media opportunity at the Sill Complex. And we'll have video. We didn't yesterday because I was out of town. But a couple things I wanted to share with you before we get out the door. Every time I turn around, there's like a new school scandal, right? We don't know people. We only think we do. It's like every time like somebody gets arrested in their neighborhood, like somebody would say, I never saw this coming, right? I mean, that's the reality of it. We all have secrets. We all have secrets, some much darker than others. But I think one of the things we got to be careful with here is not to paint with a broad brush. Everybody is responsible for their own actions. And I don't know what's happening, right? And I think a lot of it's because Snapchat and disappearing messages and that kind of stuff and people using Signal. It just makes it easier, right, to have maybe improper communication with people that we shouldn't, right? You live your life as you choose, but just don't hurt kids. That's like if you don't hurt anybody, it's cool, man. It is, right? I mean, if you decide that, you want to drive a Harley and live off the land and, to spend your life on the road, that's your right, man. I support that. You're not hurting anybody else. You may be hurting some feelings along the way. Maybe some people that wish you were back home, right? But I know it sounds like such a brave stance, but we've got to increase the penalties for these people that are hurting kids. And, we all talk about the thing that happened with the mayor down in DeRidder, and, you see it all the time, right? Where were these teachers when I was in school? It's so creepy. Well, if they were messing with anybody, it was somebody else. You just weren't handsome enough, right? Loser. But those kind of things just kind of chap my hide a little bit, right? And as a guy that has worked as a high school baseball coach and a guy that's had high school and middle school and elementary school-age kids, like you want to know that your kids are safe. And when I went to Brandon yesterday, there was a lot of good things happening at Brandon High School. And number one, it's a beautiful school. It is. But even the two ladies that I met when I first got there and had to sign in, very nice, friendly, people that probably should be up front, people representing your business in a positive way. Had a chance to meet the principal, one of the associate principals. And I just get the sense some good things are happening there. Right, that's how I feel, and of course Jordan is great. And I joked with them yesterday. I bought her a drink in Omaha, which is true, right? I did. We're all celebrating, and then her and her boyfriend are there. She didn't have a drink in her hand, and I was like, "We got to celebrate." So I bought her a drink, and it was nothing inappropriate. But those kinds of things happen. But it's just so interesting to me that so much is happening. And the thing that I would encourage you, just like we did. After the Charlie Kirk thing, when so many people were going out there. And the first thing I'm going to tell you, like I told you then, your opinion's not that important. Period. It's not. So don't put yourself in harm's way. Like this week, we found out that federal lawsuit got dismissed from that woman that worked at Ole Miss that I think she just shared a meme. I don't think it was her own words. But she shared a meme that was somehow seen to be in celebration of someone getting killed. And I just remind you, Number one, your opinion doesn't matter that much, and you're not as tough as you think you are, okay? You're not as valuable as you think you are. They will absolutely fire you. So kids, take care of yourself. Take care of your branding. And that's one of the things that I tried to explain to those kids yesterday is like the decisions you make, maybe you don't want to go to college, but when you're in high school, when people start calling around, checking references and that sort of stuff, your branding is important. And it becomes even more important as you become an adult, right? Because there are some people that don't like me, and I don't care. And there are some people that I don't like, and guess what? I'm sure they don't care either, right? That's just part of the human condition. There are a lot of causes out there I don't support, and there's some that I do, but I'm largely apolitical on social media because of the fact I'm in business. I want everybody to just enjoy Mississippi State content. So I don't take these big public stances. And that's all of this kind of goes back to one central point. The school stuff and then the social media stuff. There's a sense of entitlement with all of it. But every bit of this is like about self. Like it's about me, right? And it's impulse control. Like we can't control our impulse. That's one of the things that separates us from the animals. Is that we have the ability to control our emotions and impulses for the most part. And so I heard this recently, and it really struck a chord with me, and I wanted to share it with you. And it was really kind of targeted more about young people. And there's some older people at my age and on down and above that have the same challenge. Is like when we were kids, right? And this is all metaphorically speaking, like we looked out the windows to the world because we were trying to learn as much as we could. We wanted to experience as much as we could. We wanted to try things. It's like, hey, you see that mountain up there? I want to go climb that thing one day, right? And so there was a sense of adventure, and it was healthy. Nowadays, most people look at mirrors. They don't look out of windows. And we're talking metaphorically speaking. And we see it on social media a lot. It's just like, say for an example, if somehow, like when you first log onto your phone and you flip over to Reels, when you stop on something, let's say it's a Motley Crue video, right? Well, then the algorithm's going to think, hey, he or she liked this, they watched it, or they gave it the thumbs up. Let's feed them more of what they like, because the more stuff they watch, the more we can monetize, the more money we can make, the more money our advertisers and exposure that they get. So let's give them more of what they want. The problem with that is, let's say you stumble across some video out there, some political commenter, and nowadays everybody's in the media. There's a lot of walk-on media these days, more than there's ever been. And there's all these true crime people, right? And some of them do a good job. I'm not painting with a broad brush here, but some of these people, I talk to my sources, and I suspect their sources is their own imagination, and they put stuff out there that's defamatory about other people, and they put things out there that are untrue, and they're just kind of, because of the fact that this thing has gotten so huge, they're just kind of, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show, the people put these little social media platforms together, and they just try to exist in the corners, hoping they can go undetected and make as much money as they can. And the only way that they can get attention is to be inflammatory. And so what happens with our young people, they're so impressionable. I mean, remember, when we were kids, we thought that Mikey, off the cereal commercial, died because he drank Coke and ate and swallowed Pop Rocks. That was the big rumor. Oh, he died. Oh my gosh. We didn't have the internet back then. And the worst thing that happens is it probably just tanks sales of Pop Rocks among young kids. I liked Pop Rocks. I did. But all of a sudden, in today's time, if that becomes a video, then all of a sudden it spreads. It's just like today. And I fell for it. There's the news about Chuck Norris dying. I didn't think that was possible. And then they said, Mean Joe Green has died. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then they had to come out later and say, no, he's fine, right? But there are people out there that are not good people. They're evil people. And so they share things that are inflammatory and incorrect. And as we have seen this week, with all this Mississippi State stuff, we've got some adults that don't have the gift of discernment, that can figure out things. They just, oh my gosh, let's just share it. It's just like Dak walked on water. Let's share it. It's like some terrible video or whatever. It's just stupid stuff like that. And then think about the kids, right? Think about that kid that's sitting around there that kind of feels alone, and all of a sudden they're constantly on their phone. They're inundated with all this misinformation, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen long term. And kind of getting back to the point of all this, when you look at a window, you're looking outward, right? You're looking out to see what else is out there. When you look in a mirror, you're always looking inward. And you want people to validate your appearance or, your comedy or your opinion. And everybody gets that little dopamine hit, right? That's one of the reasons that so many people post like these revealing pictures or these provocative pictures and things like that, is because they get a rush from it, right? We're just all kind of gleaning self-esteem from each other. And so I know that's kind of a metaphor of sorts, but my challenge to you is to look less in the mirror and look for the echo chamber that validates your belief. That's what happens. We give this tribalistic culture. It's like, well, this is what I think. And the next thing you know, somebody's like, yeah, right on. And you're both wrong, right? I've been there. I've jumped on things without having the facts and have some strong opinion, and I'm misinformed. It happens. But when I think about these young people, it makes me sad. It really does. And of course, they laugh at all the boomers, for sharing all these fake stories, not knowing that they're doing the same thing. It's just a little more carefully crafted. And so I think that's one of the things, like me and some of my kids disagree politically. We do. But we talk about it. We have an open dialogue. And I don't know how well they receive it, but I respect their views. And I tell them, here is why I believe what I believe. And here is why I think you're wrong about this. But I give them room to talk to me. I don't lecture them or preach to them and say, you're wrong, you're wrong. I'll just say, hey, this is why I believe this. Why do you believe that? And it's incredible how many times, like, oh, well, Daddy, watch this TikTok video. And I'm like, these people are so incredibly wrong and devoid of facts. And you look up and they've got 500,000 followers. It's incredible to me. And I think the quest for knowledge should be never ending, learning, continuing to find out things that maybe you don't know as much about. As I've shared with you guys many times, like I'm an 80s hair metal aficionado, I'm a tattoo enthusiast, and I'm a Mississippi State guy. That's kind of the end of the list, right? When it comes to things that I can probably speak very intelligently about or authoritatively about. But I learn a lot by listening to podcasts, and I even go if something seems too good to be true, I go fact check it. And there have been times that I felt like, you know what? This is right. And other times I say, well, they kind of got it right? And so then you kind of file that away. People aren't doing that, though, which is why we share things like we're building a $3.2 billion baseball stadium. We share it without shame because we're lazy. And so I share that with you in hopes that you will partner with me to ensure that maybe young people can have an open dialogue. And it's so interesting. I think I shared this with you guys. Dan and I talked about it last night. I can't remember. I think it was Nebraska. I think. But there was a high school that was having a ton of problems with cell phone stuff. Tons of problems with cell phone stuff. And you can see in school how that could lead to cheating, and that could be all kind of inappropriate things that happen in school. And so they basically banned phones for 2 weeks. Basically, like, is an accountability piece. Hey, we're going to take your phones away, and you keep them in your locker. If we see them, we're going to take them. And you can have them at lunch, or you can have them in your off periods. Well, then they eventually said, no, you can't have them at all. You can't have them at all. Leave them in your car, leave them at home, whatever. After the 2 weeks, the kids wanted to keep the policy. Doesn't that blow your mind? Because it was a new experience for them. They've been on their phones their whole lives. And all of a sudden, they go to the cafeteria, they don't have a phone, they have to actually have a conversation with somebody. not about a meme, not about an Instagram post. They got to know each other better. And so they've basically lifted some of the restrictions since then, but the kids have basically enjoyed getting to know their classmates person to person instead of this artificial social media creation that we've had. And I think that is a phenomenal development and somewhat fascinating. It's what we grew up on. Like, we see our phones as, we've never had access to all this information before. And we spend a ton of time on social, and sometimes we get inundated with fake news. We do. But think about how cool it is for these kids, like for the first time, really in their teenage years and perhaps even longer, that they didn't have their phone as a crutch to entertain them, and then they become better friends as a result. Isn't that incredible? Like, I can only begin to imagine what's going to happen to the divorce rate in the years ahead, right? Because everybody falls in love with a profile pic. It's all about that and how people present themselves on social media. Of course, not as many people are getting married these days, but it's important to me to invest in our young people. And as I tell them, you're welcome to follow me on socials, but I won't follow you back, right? And that's an important aspect of this thing, too. We got to protect our young people. We do. We have to protect our young people. And I'm not going to give you the whole Whitney Houston, I believe the children are our future. Of course they are. Of course they are. But we as leaders in our community, in our church groups, friend groups, neighborhoods, whatever, we got to set good examples. We have to set good examples. And listen, I'm far from perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes, even in recovery. I've made a lot of mistakes. But the reality of it is, I think if our heart is in the right place, and I'm a firm believer, as I've shared with you guys before, we're only as sick as our secrets, so I encourage you not to keep any. If you hadn't done so, go to dutynoblebook.com. You can get signed copies of all my sports titles, plus the personal memoir, When the Bottom Falls. That right now, they told me yesterday, I had to go sign like 10 cases of books yesterday. I guess 5 yesterday, and we'll do 6 tomorrow. But the best-selling book right now is When the Bottom Falls. How about that? Thank you. Thank you. And when I went to Brandon, the high school principal said, "Hey, I know that name. Why do I know that name?" I'm thinking, well, here comes the flim-flam stuff, right? She goes, "But my husband's a recovering alcoholic, and he's got your book on recovery." And how cool is that, right? That's something that goes well beyond rivalry lines. But so thank you for supporting that book. Really all the books, but that one's probably a little more special to me. So you can get a copy of When the Bottom Falls from the Duty Noble Book website. Come float with us at True Rest Float Spa of Starbolt. You can dial 662-268-7601. Speak directly to my beautiful wife, Dana. She had to throw her flowers out today. Kind of bums me out. I bought her some flowers before I went to Arkansas because she was going to have to handle everything while I was gone. And, you want to stay in the good graces. And she had to throw those flowers out. I'm not going to rush to replace them. But, that's I'm still dating her. And we've been together, almost 34 years now. But I'm still dating her. And that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I give young people. Always remember you're still dating. Always. Don't ever take them for granted. Come join us over at genespage.com. You can get 50% off the annual subscription price for a limited time only. Be sure and check it out today. You guys have a great weekend. And until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends and enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.